What up, though? Happy of you to notice. Let's talk about clowns. You know, when people see clowns, they usually have all different types of reactions. You know, some people see clowns and they become excited, lighthearted, immediately uplifted. And then there are others who, when they see clowns, they become fucking frightened, terrified. Some people are fucking terrified of clowns, And then there are others who, when they see clowns, they become annoyed or irritated. And then there are others who, when they see clowns, they become angry. They become violent. I'm sure you've seen Joker, Joaquin Phoenix. Remember when he was dancing in the beginning, kids stole his fucking sign and then fucking lured him into an alley and beat the dog shit out of him. See, that's just a subtle example of people seeing clowns and becoming angry, violent. The truth is, though, when people see clowns, they usually see themselves. And so a clown is a mirror, right? Because they're no one. They don't necessarily have an identity. And so because of that, it's easy for people to project themselves onto the clown. And so when people see clowns, they usually just see themselves. Most people don't think deep enough, and so they don't realize this. Many people just dismiss the clown as, oh, this is just a fucking fool. And to a degree, they're absolutely right. Clown is a fool. What is a fool? A jester, an actor, one who's carefree, an actor who can assume a multitude of different forms, a multitude of different identities. And see, they can do this because they're no one. And in being no one, they can literally become anyone. A clown or a fool is sort of a caricature, right? They're caricatures of a fucking caricature. You see, people poke and make fun of the clown, but they don't realize that the clown is actually poking and making fun of you. That's why their face is all painted and they laugh and do all this stupid shit and point at you. They're mocking you. You see, because in society, we're conditioned to wear a mask. Most people wear a mask, They try to hide who they really are. And so the clown, all it's doing is revealing to you how fucking ridiculous you look, how stupid you look wearing the mask. They're reminding you a subtle truth. We all are masking. We're all nothing but actors playing a fucking role. You see, that is what the fool does. This is what the clown, or rather the fool, does. The fool is a free spirit and is also a trickster. You see, because the fool or the clown is not who they appear to be. Most people don't realize that the fool is the most powerful person in the entire court, because the fool is the only one who can appear before the king and tell the king straight to his face that you're nothing but a sorry sack of shit. The king has no choice but to eat that shit and has to laugh about it in front of everyone. You see, a regular person who tells the king this would fucking be immediately beheaded, sent to the fucking gallows or attached to 4 different horses and pulled apart. But not the fool. The fool can look the king right in his eye and say, you're a sorry sack of shit. And the king just got to eat that shit. He'll laugh in front of everyone else. But at night, when the king's going to sleep, the last thing he's thinking about, last person he's thinking of is the fool. The fool keeps him up at night as he lays in bed thinking to himself, am I really a sorry sack of shit? Is this really what the people think of me? And he thinks this because the fool is the one who usually reflects the voice of the people, who relates the voice of the people to the court. And so the fool or the clown is a go-between. They play the role of what the ancient shamans used to play. The fool or the clown reflects man's unconsciousness, man's unconscious thoughts, desires, feelings, everything that man wishes to not see and embrace within himself. The fool owns that shit. And so the king would lay up at night and be thinking, that fool called me a sorry sack of shit. Is that really who I am? See, this illustrates further how powerful the fool or the clown really is, because he is the only one who can live in the king's mind rent fucking free. Not only that, the fool is free, totally and completely free. Free to say what he desires, free to say what he desires, and free to be whom he truly is. No one. See, people think that the king is the most powerful motherfucker in the court, but he's actually not. He's actually the most bound. He's the most bound. He's the most imprisoned than anyone else in the entire court. He has that fucking sword hanging over his head. If he doesn't lead his people right, if he doesn't fit the part, he can easily upset the people and cause a revolution in his kingdom. He can easily cause the people to turn against him. And when they turn against him, they're coming to kill him. The king is under constant pressure. He isn't the most powerful person in the court. It's actually the fool. And so you see, the fool or the clown is actually a king. You see, the king is the ruler of the material, but the fool or the clown is a spiritual king. He rules over the spiritual. He's a king in the spiritual plane. You see what I mean by the fool is a trickster? Let's talk about famous fools or clowns. Many people worship a famous historical fool or clown. Christ. Christ was a fool. See, he was no one. He was the only one who can go up to the motherfucking Pharisees and the Sadducees and G-check them. Tell them straight to their fucking faces how corrupt they were. The only one bold and brave enough to do that. Tell them straight to their faces. This shit's corrupt. Get this shit out my dad's house. Bold and brave enough to fucking flip tables over in the temples. He spoke as if he was of authority. And that's because he knew and understood who he was. No one. Exodus 3:14. I am that I am. Or I shall be what I shall be. A fool. A spiritual king. The opening line of the book of John. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God. And the Word was God. Christ is the Word, right? So if the Christos existed before the material world existed, predates man's existence, and is therefore primordial. The fool existed prior to history. Again, is primordial because the spiritual predates the material. So what is this spiritual kingdom that the fool rules and presides over? I'll break it down to you this way. Why is it that the fool can assume any identity? Because the fool understands a secret that most motherfuckers don't. And that secret is this, that within me, within my awareness, exists an entire nation of images. Or rather, I am a jinn nation. Do you know what jinns are? Primordial beings who predate man. Like man, they too have free will. See, they existed prior to the existence of this creation, prior to the existence of man. See, man is born of clay or born of the dust of the earth. But see, the jinn are born of a smokeless flame. They are created from a smokeless flame. It is said that the spirit of the Christos is to return. It is said that the spirit of the Christos, the anointed one, will return again. And when it returns, it will come to bring fire upon the earth. You see, the Christos was a reject. This spirit was rejected by its own people. Even sumahibonem, the stone that the builders rejected, the cornerstone has now become the headstone. You understand what it means to be a lowly one? See why you're advised to be humble. You see, most people think that they know this spirit, but the truth is they have no fucking clue, because this spirit could be looking you right in your fucking face and you won't even recognize it, which is what the story pretty much teaches, right? Christos' own people rejected him. They didn't recognize him, and as a result, they put him on a fucking cross. Do you know who presides over the spiritual crossroads? Ukone baba legba? You should be careful, man. Judge, lest not ye be judged. It is said that when this spirit returns, most motherfuckers are going to try to be real Joe, real buddy, and try to be familiar. Like, hey, do you remember me from such and such? And the response that they're likely to be met with is, I never knew you. I never knew you. I never knew you. I never knew you. Baco no, no?